trade, you know exactly what needs to take place before you even go to point two.
And let me just jump in right while I got you. And we also know about any violations on the prospective property. If there's some violations already on the property, if there have been some violations on it. Say we buy some property, there's been violations in the past on the property. What do you know?
Well, I usually try to do a history on any particular property that I'm doing. That's just my legal side of me, that I do that to make sure that what we are doing are in compliance with the state or the city or county.
And that's another service for the center. If you're buying a piece of property or want to find out what's the historical information about permits that have been issued on a particular piece of property, or if there have been some code compliance complaints or cases, we have that information at the center also.
Right, go ahead, jump in.
A lot of that information, as Peggy says, a lot of that information is public record. And with the county, you get it from the center, from the city of Tampa. You started the construction service center. We have a history of activity on that property. We have a history of code violations on that property. And it's literally a phone call away, and you can come down, get copies of it, look at it to see that. So yeah, there's a strong history.
Very good. All right, if you're just tuning into the show, this is Honest Opinion, keeping it real, making it happen. We're talking about making the permitting process user-friendly. We have in the studio with us, we have Mr. Tom Snellings, who's the City of Tampa Acting Director of Growth Development Services. We have Ms. Peggy Hamrick-Smith, Hillsborough County Director for the Center for Development Services. Dr. Bennett Smalls, who's the President and CEO of Small Construction. And it's about 9:30, 9:35. The phone number here to call in with your questions or comment. Call in at 813-251-9867, 813-251-WTMP. Just want to make a few announcements. We'll get right back to the topic at hand. There will be some redistricting going on Monday, August the 29th at Jefferson High School, 4401 West Cypress at 4 o'clock. State redistricting, you want to get out there and get involved in that. Also on September the 7th, we have the budget hearings down at the City Council Chamber, and on September the 8th, they're going to be finally dealing with the panhandling issue, 9 o'clock on September the 8th, and on September the 7th at 5 o'clock, and that's at 306 East Jackson Street. Last announcement is that Mayor Bob Buckhorn is kicking off his Operation Win, which is to help clean up improve the neighborhoods. He's starting out in East Tampa. He's going to be there this morning. Well, he's already there. He was there at 8 o'clock.
I just left from there.
You just left from there? Okay, so Tom was there with the mayor. The mayor's over at 4405 North 10th Street. They'll still be out there between Chelsea and Emma Streets. People, volunteers, neighborhood, come together, keep the community clean, make it beautiful, so that make our city a nice place to live, play, and work. All right, we're going to get right back to the question. Hakeem, the dream.
We got to call him, then I'll follow.
All right. 813-251-9867. Welcome to the call. To the show. Welcome to Honest Opinion.
Hello?
Yes, coming on the air.
You're on the air.
Yes?
Go ahead, caller.
Oh, I just want to share something with the audience. Just because a person say they have a license doesn't necessarily mean that they have one. You as a consumer, you need to check. I want to share just something that happened to me recently. I saw a flyer for a tree surgeon, and I had problems with the tree roots breaking up my sidewalk. And so I just called and asked him to take care of the problem for me. Well, because I don't live where the property is, he did not take care of the problem. He cut a tree. And the next thing I know, I was notified by the city that I cut the tree without a permit. I didn't cut the tree. I had no idea that this guy was not licensed. So all I want to tell people is that make sure that before you get anybody to do anything, you must see the license.
All right, sister said you got to verify and document.
Here's another thing too. If a person do something that's inappropriate, like this tree trimmer did, even if he had a license, as a homeowner, and like she gonna pay a hefty fine. I know she probably gonna fight in the court of law to say that I didn't give her permission. Is it the court more friendly to the contractor or more friendly to the homeowner?
What's it say, Tom?
So much for easy questions.
That's a tough one.
Where's your attorneys?
I know exactly.
What you need it. Take the fifth.
That's right.
Well, if somebody cuts down a tree illegally on your property, the city will issue the citation to the homeowner. I mean, that's how it takes place. If the tree was cut down by a licensed tree company who has the proper credentials doing that, and you have a contract with them, at that point you have probably a better ability to go after him to get you to help with the fine. If they're just some Joe Schmo who just came drifting through the neighborhood, cut down the tree, you're going to have a very difficult time trying to go after him. So it goes back. And the caller raised a good point. He says, she didn't understand, whether this guy was. He said he was licensed, but perhaps he was not. Verify. And if you have any questions at all, you can call the county, I'm sure, or call the city, construction service center, and say, I want to know about, XYZ tree service. Have they done business in the city? And we have some of that information. So you do a little bit of due diligence, it'll go a long way in avoiding any kind of problems that happen.
Right, Dr. Small,
I just want to jump in on that because of the fact that what he's saying is true. But most cities and counties have what they call as a tree audience. And with that audience, before you can cut a tree down, you got to check with the city or county to make sure that that tree can actually be removed. And a lot of times, those individuals that are passing themselves off as a licensed tree, trimmer or whatever, may or may not have done that. And that's one of the things I think the homeowners need to know, that there is a tree audience in this county and city, and let's check that out.
Dr. Small makes a good point. There's an ordinance out there for trees, and you have to do your due diligence. Even as a homeowner, when you're hiring a contractor, there's some responsibility for the homeowner to do his due diligence to know what's going on too. You want to jump in that, Peggy?
Yes, the county also has ordinances regarding that. We have a whole section, in fact, called natural resources that deals with trees and landscaping and berms and such like this. But for the county, you absolutely have to pull a permit to take a tree down. So and that where you submit that permit? The center
for Development Services. Go ahead, Peggy.
It's all there.
Peggy said I got it all there. And on that point, because let's get back to the topic, making the permitting process user friendly. But this show was inspired, like Hakeem the Dream said, by Mayor Bob Buckhorn when he was on the campaign trail. Then he was in this chair that Tom in 3 weeks ago, streamlining the permitting process. He read the regulatory process. As a matter of fact, I got an email from the mayor, sent it to everybody, not just personally to me, saying that this is one of his first initiatives. How you doing, Tom? Because you just got the job, and I know you got a meeting with the mayor, and that's one of his initiatives. Where are we going with this streamlining the process? Have we started? Because it's the county now. They got you rolling now. They got to jump. Hey, county got a threshold on you. Now, so you
That's all right. We got the boilerplate. I do the work, but you don't follow up.
You got to come.
We got a long ways to go, both of us.
All right, but tell us where we are with the city.
Well, where we are with the city, the mayor did establish the Economic Competitiveness Committee to look specifically at streamlining not only the permitting process, but permitting the codes that regulate the permitting process, from construction, building, land development, site plan review, subdivision, virtually anything that has to do with building and construction in the city of Tampa, we're taking a look at. And it's motivated because if you can make the process quicker and faster, it encourages people to want to do business in your city, which is a good economic development philosophy to have. And as Peggy said, the county center has moved and started to do a lot of the things that we have no pride of authorship. If they're doing it well and it's good and it's working for them, we're going to steal it. So we're going to try.
We're going to share it.
And that's good.
And matter of fact,
working together.
Yeah, and we were over at the county last week, and she was gracious enough to give us a tour. And one thing I do want to comment about the value of having people located in the same place where they can share idea. And Peggy mentioned that it's silos, and there's a lot of things for that kind of constrained thinking. But if you are you're a plans reviewer, you're looking at a plan, and all of a sudden you have a question, why did the guy approve it this way when I think it should have been this way? You can literally turn around and say, hey Joe, or hey Mary, why did you do this? And they say, oh, because he did this over, he did this application differently. Oh, okay, great. So right then and there, rather than having to stop, send it back to Mary, who's 2 floors down, or in another building, taking 1 day, 2 day, 3 days, they turn in their chair and say, hey, how about it? And something gets handled in 15 seconds versus
compared to 2 or 3 days. That's really streamlined the process. Let's go to the phone line. Welcome to Honest Opinion, keeping it real, making it happen. What say you, caller?
What's that?
Yes, I know it's not a smaller question. Dr. Small, when I called in just a minute ago, and I was saying about the different types of material that you use on home, you answered my question because you said because I see the point. I just have a language so much. I don't know the difference between the material that the contractor uses. Somebody said it should be a more higher standard of material that the license board should put on the contract to ensure the homeowner who that he is get a quality material in the structure that they build to, because like I say, Dr. Small, if I don't have about material, I can recognize.
Okay, caller, I think you may not have heard what he said. There's a building inspector that come out. Dr. Small, try to clear that up one more time for this caller, please.
Sure. Usually, whenever you are doing construction and have pulled a permit, there is a building inspector that comes behind that contractor to make sure that he or she who has done the work has done it in a professional manner and has adhered to the various codes. At that time, that inspector will look at the wood, he'll look at the nails, he will look at other materials to make sure that those materials that has been used has been compliant. Say for instance, right now, there's a big issue with hurricane. There's the hurricane clips. I just come back from a seminar on that, roofing material. At one time, the nails that you put in what we call a shingles, a 3-tab, at one time it was 4, now it's basically 6 nails that you have to put in there.
Okay.
So that inspector will actually turn it back, look at it to make sure that you are complying with the various codes.
Very good.
And those things.
That's good. Very good. How can you dream?
Just another question. You talked earlier about budget cuts and the fundings. Now, I know when things are good, there's a lot of permitting going on. Is it easier for the city to make money by not being so tough on the contractor when it is that when business are real slow and they got nothing else to do, they just become real tough? You know, if economically we know plays a part in whatever take place.
All right.
Who wants to answer that? Tom says, I like hard questions.
No. Well, the reality is we're going to apply the same standard, the same level, whether they're really busy and there's a lot of activity, or whether it's very slow and there's very little activity, because we're obligated to follow the laws that are adopted by the city, the Florida Building Code. They're going to review all of the projects against whatever the particular code is. They're not going to make it tougher or easier depending on what's happening in the economy. When it is slow, chances are they'll be able to do it faster because there's less work on their on the table. So we're always governed by what we do and how we do by adopted city ordinances or adopted state codes, and in some cases county codes for health as well. So we don't really look at anything.
Yeah. Something like that.
Like that, we pretty much, well, not pretty much, we always look
That's
at
for
it
the
the same
ordinance
way.
and the building code.
We're
But I want
governed.
to talk to you, Peggy, because we talked about something off the air. You said that the new center, all the fees that come in, actually is enterprise funds. They operate.
It's very similar to an
Yeah, kind of
enterprise.
tell us about that. So if you
Okay,
collect
sure.
fees for pulling the permit,
permits.
then are you not going to the general fund, to the county commission asking for money?
Right.
Are you using the money that your customers bring you and that run your center? Tell me about that.
Keep in mind, the center is kind of a combined department. So I have employees at the center who come from the real estate department and from building services division and planning and zoning division and right-of-way management areas. So their funds are a variety of funds, some general funds, some unincorporated, but the building services division, which is all of the permitting, all of the permit technicians and the plans examiners and the inspectors, all of their funding is from a building services fund. And that's generated just from the permit fees. So for building services, all of their activities, all of those inspections, all of those employees that are a part of my center are funded through the building fund, which is not monies that the board has to give me from other things.
Real quick follow up. Now, this stream